Hello, everyone. We're going to be starting our broadcast here in just a moment, letting a few more people filter in. But today we are here with Wayne O'Keefe, our presenter for Dashboard and Analytics 2.0 Sedona Seminar. I am Sam Clyde, and we are going to be looking at all of the features and functionality that comes with SedonaOffice Dashboard. Wayne is time and time again voted one of our most engaging panelists, and I know today will be no different. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the seminar. Wayne, are you okay for your screen to be shared?
Yep, I'm all good to go. All righty. So today, well, let's start with the introductions. Good afternoon, good morning, based on your time zone. Today we're going to be taking a look at Sedona Dashboard 2.0. For those of you that are not familiar with what Sedona Dashboard is, it's a free add-on utility for SedonaOffice that empowers users to dig into all sorts of data in different ways. The Sedona Dashboard comes with several different tools, so let's get that launched. There's kind of a basic customer lookup that comes with Dashboard. The dashboards where we'll be spending, excuse me, the most of our time. Sedona Analytics, which allows you to kind of build your own reports and visualizations, report menu, etc. If anywhere along the way you kind of get stuck, or if you find that this webinar is maybe a tad bit of information overload, don't worry. There's a fully integrated help section with detailed instructions on how to use and do almost everything within the app. And it kind of guides you through everything you're going to see today and more. All right, so we're going to start with a customer display. Since Sedona Dashboards is kind of a web-based product, it can actually be designed to be either intranet or internet. So you can keep it local on your network, or you can open it up to the outside world through your internet web portal. And where that's particularly handy is for things like maybe if you have like an after hours technician that needs to look up some customer information to help them troubleshoot, or maybe you have a field salesperson that's quoting an upgrade and wants to get a little bit of data on the system. But in neither of those situations do we actually have access to full Sedona Office. So using web credentials, they can log in and get to your website. And we can look up our customer. So we will look for the infamous Mr. Smith. And let's see here. Let's do, oh, I hit the button twice, sorry. So you can look at the customer basic information. You can see their various different sites, the related system information, if they have recurring invoices, etc. down the line. It's designed to give you just kind of a basic interface for customer information to solve those, hey, I need the information right now. I can look up the rest back when I have full access to Sedona Office. In the Sedona Dashboard section, which is, obviously the core of the product, you have a lot of different options. So Sedona Dashboard really isn't designed just to fit one need, but to provide a tool to fit almost anyone's need. If you're in the accounting side, you can build all kinds of accounting reports or look at the visualizations to see where your money's currently at, your RMR trending, sorted by any conceivable way that you can think of or dream up. AP, all kinds of options. So like for some of the classic visualizations, which if you were familiar with Sedona Dashboard 1, these are those. You have like, for example, the 12-month income analysis chart, giving you your breakout for your area. But anytime you see like an info button, you can get a little bit more information on how this particular visualization is designed and where it's pulling that information from. And if there's a related report that ties to it, you can click the detailed report to open up that report. And we've tried to add layers within layers of data in the predefined ones that we provide out of the box. So like if you wanted to see the information for your income, but you wanted to dig down a little bit deeper, you can click on the particular month and it'll bring up the subsection, and you can keep going down over and over. Looks like someone did a physical. And see the information that you need. Some of the other things that you can do, like on the AP side, got a pretty much a quick snapshot here of where our, what we owe. Again, we have detailed reports drilling down where you can look at the particular vendor, and you can drill down even further to get some basic vendor information and maybe an idea of what those open invoices are and what the terms were on those. It's a ton of information at your fingertips. And these that I'm showing right now are the dashboard visualizations that we provide. We give you a bunch out of the box and the tools to make your own. You can create different tabs for different types of visualizations. So like you could have a tab for like accounting information or a tab for service information. And making a tab and adding visualizations to it is fairly simple and straightforward. You just click on the new tab button. You have to have at least one visualization on the tab. So we'll just pick this one and add that on. And you have a couple different options just with the general interface of dashboard. You can organize it different ways in the layout. Quite often, I would like to have mine sorted in columns, so it just makes them all lined up nice and neat, and because I'm a little OCD about everything being in its little compartments. But the free form is really handy for a lot of these because they're like easier to read in a bigger format. You can move them around, space them out any way you want. If you need to add a visualization or remove one, so you grab the one for on one, you can just remove it. Or if you decide, you know what, I don't need this tab at all, you can go in here, and if you're saving the tab, you can name it something a little bit more applicable or remove it in general. And yes, I truly want to remove that. As far as the predefined ones, we also added a bunch of new ones in. So if you're new to everything, you've got a ton of options. But if you're an experienced user of Dashboards 1 and you're moving up to 2, you still got some new stuff to look forward to as well. A lot of the new items kind of were designed to supplement SedonaOffice. So with the new items we added in, we didn't just want to reinvent the wheel and give you the same data from the same reports within SedonaOffice, just presented in a different way, which, don't get me wrong, you certainly can do that. But as far as the predefined ones, we tried to fill in some gaps. We have some RMR cancellation reports that you can sort in various different ways to look by, branch, reason code, if the even down to the cycle, so you can see if you're losing more monthlies versus your annuals. On the KPI for the service grid, there's a couple different things that are popped up here, so you can kind of get both a feel for your customer's experience and for your office operations. How quickly are you getting out to your customer sites? How quickly is your office closing tickets based on the time the ticket is closed from the departure of the last appointment? And it's mining that data that's all in the SedonaOffice database and giving you valuable information in a different way. And of course, you have, for the visual people, you've got your nice little charts. For the people that are just the fax man, you got your grids. There's some other things that are designed to kind of complement SedonaOffice, like in the job queue. If you kind of want to keep say you're the general manager and you want to kind of see, if everyone's kind of keeping up with their workloads, and maybe you've designed your jobs statuses by department and certain key people are handling certain departments, you can quickly take a snapshot and see, where are they at? Is my parts guy kind of falling apart, or not falling apart, sorry, falling behind? And you can see, okay, well, where are we at standing with things? Or if maybe you're a project manager and you want to just look at your particular jobs. You can, again, a lot of these visualizations are linked to detailed reports, so you can filter them down by project manager, salesperson in this particular example. and see how long those jobs have been sitting at that particular status. Here's one that's been sitting for a couple years now. Might want to get that job activated. Back into Sedona dashboards, again, there's just a ton of options. And a lot of the new stuff is designed to, I know I'm repeating myself, but designed to kind of complement SedonaOffice, like in the job profit loss. The job queue does a really good job of giving you your profit and your loss net costing summary. And if you're just want to know what was the total profit, it is more than adequate to fit the bill. But some of us like to dig in a little bit deeper and really get an idea of what happened within that job. Is the not only were we profitable, but where were we profitable? Or what was that customer's experience with that job, and how did we respond to their needs? So let's kind of pick one here. And so the first, on this particular example, the first thing you're going to see is this is pretty close to what the profit loss summary of Sedona jobs currently is. But we've added a couple more things. We've kind of broken out not just the charges, but where those charges came from. Change order additions and change order removals are original charges. And this is a handy tool for knowing if you had a technician swap a part in the field and filled out a change order substituting X for Y. Well, if we took off a $200 part and added a $400 part, did we make sure to actually add those charges to cover the increase in value of the part? A lot of little details like that. On the non-financial side, we also added in some timelines and key data tracking. This particular example, it doesn't just look at the appointments that are on the job, but it looks at all the different items from like the event log and change orders and purchase orders that could be those hidden costings or things that people might forget are actually part of the overall job, and kind of puts it into a timeline for you. The time that your data people took to actually create the job. When your inventory person goes out and grabs the truck, gets all the parts off the truck, checks them all in, and then issues them to the job. All these little things outside of the tech on site actually are part of your job costing. And this kind of gives you an idea of how to look at that information. When they happened, if you've got pre-designated labor units set up for different tasks, it'll bring those in. If you're using the timesheets from SedonaOffice to calculate technician labor, it'll bring that in. And then for those other ones where it's kind of picking them up from the log and other items, it's not going to auto-populate any labor units, but it'll kind of give you like an average of what we think might be something you might want to consider if you don't actually know the real numbers, to get more of a holistic view. Another thing that's kind of nice about this one is it gives you kind of a timeline of the job as well. So you can see there were long pauses of months where we didn't touch this job. Maybe we were waiting on a contractor to finish some work so that we can go in and trim out the job, or maybe this job just slipped through the cracks and it kind of sat in someone's paperwork for a while till we noticed, oh yeah, we need to close and build this job out. Lots of information there available for both the ops people and the accounting people. With the dashboards and the related reports, if you don't necessarily need the tabs and just want to get straight to the facts, you have the report menu here. And in the report menu, you can access the reports that you've built, or some of the other reports. One I kind of want to showcase for this particular webinar is like the service profit loss. Now you'll notice in a lot of our KPIs and P&Ls, we actually separated service and inspections. And that's kind of important because quite often the inspection world isn't the same thing as the service world. Your service world is typically going to be time and materials unless they're on a service plan. You're usually trying to get out to solve problems right away. So having those deadlines to get to the customer site is going to be, a lot tighter. But your inspections, most of the time might be tied to an RMR. You might be booking them months in advance. So you don't really want to mix up your service values with your inspection world, which is a whole different ball of wax. Something I just want to point out really quickly with this particular report is, and again, trying to help customers out, is it doesn't just do the math. It doesn't just calculate, okay, well, you charged for $100, you had $50 expenses, so you made $50 in profit. Some of the visualizations we've created and reports we've made kind of look for those things that maybe you didn't know to look for. For example, if you had an item that you added to the service ticket, but there was no associated cost, you rented a lift for a particular service call, and it cost you $100, and you charged the customer $150 for your normal markup. Well, if you didn't associate that $100 to the costing of that other charge, it's going to show falsely that there was a lot more profit on that ticket than there truly was. Another example might be if you have a technician that maybe you forgot to put the weighted labor rate on. So it's showing all that labor as profit and not taking the proper costing into example. Same thing with parts and other things that we check for you. And so it's not just to give you your accounting data with all the, hey, are we making money on our service calls? Do we need to reevaluate our prices? But it's also kind of, this particular report that is kind of trying to help you find those common mistakes that we all make when we're doing our initial setups that might be throwing our numbers off a little bit. What we're going to get into now, though, is what I know a lot of people have been waiting for, and that's hey, your visualizations are all nice and fine, but it's not showing me the data that I want in the way that I want. I'm the accountant, and I want to know bank balances, and I want to see who's making my transactions. So I want to build my own reports, or maybe I want to do a mailing. I want to analyze my customer base on, who's got RMR and who doesn't, and really try to get those people that are service-only accounts on some sort of RMR. So that's where we have Sedona Analytics. Sedona Analytics is the tool where, think of the query builder back in SedonaOffice if you're familiar with it, but to the whole next level. Because with the analytics, you really aren't as restricted as you might be with the query builder, because we've tried to build in almost every conceivable data connection that you can think of. So we'll use that example that I just gave with, I want to target my service only accounts. So let's build a report. We're going to go into tables and visualizations here. And that's gonna give me our data, our first spot, which is, we have to actually mine the data. So obviously, since this is a customer-driven report, we're gonna start with the AR customer. And hopes if I don't scroll too far. There we go. And what this is going to do first is it's going to bring in all the fields that are related to that particular table. Now, obviously, for our particular needs, we don't need all of this. So we're just gonna unclick the all, and let's just bring in the customer number. And then I'm going to hit this apply column section down here to update my table down here so that we have a little bit more of a focus. Okay, so now we've set something up and we've got something started, but we need some more. So this is where I think the analytics data mining, in my humble opinion, is a little bit more robust than the query builders, because you have a lot more options. So if I want to, so we don't want our canceled customers. We're going to filter those out. So, and I don't need to know which items link on which. It's actually going to tell me right here. So if I want to bring in the customer status for one of my filters, I scroll down to like the customer status, and oh, look, it links to the SS customer status. So I'll just bring that in. That again is going to load in that, it's going to make the connection for me, and it's going to load in all those related fields. So let's see, let's take the all off and just bring in our customer status. Do an update. I don't have to do an update every time, but I just like to show how it's actually keeping the information correct. Now, for me, I might be doing a mailing. And every company is a little bit different, but when I'm counting customers in a particular locations, I actually kind of like go to the site level, not just the customer level, because I might have a customer that has multiple locations with me, and some of them are on RMR and some of them aren't. So I don't want to just say, okay, well, we're only going to target these people. So let's bring in customer site. So we're going to do customer ID on customer ID for my customer sites. All right. And we're going to uncheck all again. Let's see. We want to know who our commercial and residential customers are. I might be exporting this information, so let's do some full-blown mailing information here. And I know I'm not going to want to include those inactive sites. So I'm going to want to bring that field in so I can filter on it. Because if a customer's moved to a different location, I don't want to, mail their old location. Or I don't want to count it twice because maybe they moved in, I got the business at the new site, but then the new customers moved into the old site and I got them too, so they're now under a new location. So we're going to filter out those inactive sites, even though it's an active customer, to try to get our data as fine-tuned as we want it. Let's do an apply column selection one more time. So now we should, yep, okay, so we've got all of our information down here. Now, ultimately, I have, let's say, I have salespeople that target states. So I want to sort this out by, we'll say, states. Within this gear option up here, you get more options for like hiding or particular fields or setting up other types of sorting. But what we're going to do for our purposes now, which is going to make adding our graph later a little bit easier, is I'm going to do some grouping. So first, we're going to group by state so that each of the guys and girls in those particular states can focus on their particular units. So I'm going to add that in. And then, of course, the whole point of this particular mock report is to see which ones don't have RMR so I can target those people. So let us bring in our customer status. Now, what you're going to see in a second here is that some of my test data doesn't have states set up properly, so we have some blanks here. But for the long run, this is kind of what we're looking for. Okay, so we've got our states, we've got our separating. So far, looking awesome. But we haven't filtered anything out. Right now, we're looking at all sites and all customers no matter what. So we want to ignore those canceled customers and those inactive sites. And that's where filters come in. Personally, I think adding filters within analytics is super easy compared to a lot of different, if you're familiar with Excel reporting or SQL reporting or even the query builders, sometimes you kind of are looking at things and going, oh, how do I get the combination of events I want? With filters and analytics, it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to pick the column. So let's do customer status first. You're going to pick your comparison value. So I want not equal to, and then whatever it is you want to take out. So I want to take out my canceled customers. All right, and then we also want to get rid of those inactive sites on the non-canceled customers. So I'm going to take here, I'm going to go inactive. I still want my not equal to, and where it's not equal to, yes. Add that filter in. So, all right, so we've got our filters. We're going to scroll down, take a sneak peek at our information, and look at this. Perfect. So we have our states. We're separated by our different, customer statuses. We have all of our different sites, and we're not including any canceled customers or inactive sites. Awesome. Now, I am a self-proclaimed data junkie, so I love playing with the database and compiling reports. So for me, staring at a report of 100,000 customer list probably wouldn't, cause me to go crazy. However, your average normal human being does not like sifting through tens of thousands of lines of code. So let's add a chart. Let's put a chart on our report that gives us a nice quick snapshot so we have an overall view of what we're going to be looking at. So let's go to add charts. Now, it's going to try to build, since we've already set up some grouping and some filters, it's going to quickly throw one together that thinks we want. You don't have to use that one. You can change it. You can switch to different chart types, whether a bar chart, pie chart, etc. But in this case, it's actually pretty close. We filtered by our state first, so it assumed we wanted some sort of chart related to states, and we do. But we also want to, specifically what we're looking for in this example is separating out those ones that have recurring and don't, so we can target those service-only accounts and get some RMR out of them. So I want to add in an additional column. I'm going to add in my customer status. All right, perfect. Now, if I just wanted to know total customers by state, the stat column would be adequate. But I'm kind of looking more, I want to target just a subsection of it. Yes, I want to know all my customers, but I'm really kind of focused on my ratio of RMR to non-RMR. So for this particular chart, I'm not thinking stacked is the way to go. So let's change that to side by side. We're going to go over here and change our chart type. Much better. Okay, so, and because we're building our own report and we're not locked in by any predefined SedonaOffice visualization, we can play with this. We can do other things. So let's make this a heck of a lot bigger so that we can actually read it. There we go. That's what I want to see. So now I can actually make out where all my states are. I can hover over and see I got about 3,000 or 8,000 active monitored accounts in Michigan. And I've got, let's see here, I think it's 33,000 service only accounts. So now what I'm thinking is, yeah, why aren't we getting the monitoring on these sales? Or why aren't we getting these people under service plans? So I have an idea, maybe I can get on my sales staff and say, all right, we need to start really pushing this monitoring and not selling these local only systems. Or maybe we do a mailing and export this site list to do a mailing for the people that are service only accounts and see if we can get them on a service plan to get some sort of RMR out of these accounts. The sky is the limit. This is obviously just one random example, but you could pretty much build this in any way you wanted. I could add in, maybe like only accounts that have had a service history. So, I'm pitching those service plans to people that actually use our service and maybe saying, hey, you can save a couple bucks getting our service plan, and that way you're not paying, our retail time and material rate. So I want to save this. I definitely like this report. It's a great report, proud of it, or I might want to use it again later. So I'm going to go up here and give it a name up on the gear here. And I'm going to call this the best report ever made. And we're going to save that. So now if I go back to my service home and I'm looking at all of my reports, oh, check that out. That's the best report that was ever made right there. So if I wanted to maybe export the information into a PDF, I can. I won't do that on this webinar because this particular example has hundreds of thousands of accounts and it kind of takes a while to calculate the PDF. But say it's been a month and I want to see if my salespeople have, been taking what I've been telling them seriously and they need to get out there and get those people on contracts. We'll just click that I real quick to rerun my little report. And no one did anything. What the heck? All these things I do for my people and this is what I get. Or awesome, we're now at 50-50 and we've sold a bunch of service contracts and we're now back to the core parts of our industry. You can, if you have certain people that are really just kind of intuitive and kind of get the Sedona database and like building reports, like me, but maybe you have your other users that are they're overwhelmed. They have a ton of activities they're doing. They could really benefit from some of these reports, but they just don't have time to get in here and build them. So let's say you have like a designated report builder. You can actually save these and you can share them with other users within the security of your Sedona office. So like this particular chart here, I'm going to go in here. I'm sorry, the three little buttons, and I'm going to give this one a name. Let's see here. Active sites by state and status. Let's save that. All right, so now we've actually saved that little portion of our report and we've made it available to author dashboards. So let's go over here, check out our dashboard options. And let's see here. Oh, check out this great visualization we just made. We'll add that into our dashboard. There's our cool report. It maintained all the kind of stretching and stuff that we had done. Obviously we can, because this is our report, we can do everything we want. We can stretch it out a little bit more, move it around a bit. And then I'm gonna save this tab. This is going to be, let's see here. Let's call it my new tab. I know, a little anticlimactic to all my other labels, but get the idea. So when I go back to the service home, here when you're looking at the dashboards and visualizations, you can actually kind of get you can share them. So here was one that I had made earlier, and I've shared it. So by clicking these little icons here, you have different options on whether I want to share it with an entire group, and these are based on the SedonaOffice user groups, or I can share it with an individual user. So let's see here, I think, well, in this particular situation, I've already shared it with everybody on this one, but let's say, you know what, I didn't mean to include Gary, so we can take it off of him so that we can just have it available for everybody else. And now when they're in their actual dashboards and they're adding in their visualizations and their panels, it's available for them to add, and they can add it into their group, and now they can see the beautiful work that you've built for the rest of the company. I know that was kind of a lot of information in a short period of time, but like I said, this help guide will be your friend. Matt spent a lot of time redoing the GUI and making it far more user-friendly, more intuitive, went into a lot of detail in the help guide explaining not just how to create analytics and how to add things to a tab and move things around, but he actually went into a lot of the different visualizations and kind of gave you great information on how this visualization was meant to be used, and if it equates to a pre-existing SedonaOffice report, or is it an independent report that's looking at the data in maybe a different way so that you can kind of get a more holistic view. So at that point in time, that is pretty much it for the official presentation. I think Sam's been running shotgun this entire time, answering questions, and let's see if she has got any more that maybe I could address while we've got everyone together.
Hey, Wayne. Great
Hello.
job, first of all. And we have a few questions for you here.
Sure.
So I'm just going to start rifling through them, and you stop me if I need to clarify anything, okay?
Gotcha.
All right. So from Deborah, I joined 2 minutes in. Did you mention if the information can be limited based on user group or individual user? I don't want everyone being able to see the financial information, but may want them to view service information.
In a situation like that, so there is some security built into it, in the sense like when I'm building a report, I can only share certain reports with certain people. I can also restrict who has access to Sedona dashboards and who doesn't. There is a security tool that allows you to create those filters and those setups. It tries to piggyback off, so you don't have to like manage a whole nother system. It tries to piggyback off the existing settings that are already in SedonaOffice, pulling in the user list, pulling in the group list. As far as individual predefines though, that one I'm going to have to check on you, double check myself, because I believe the answer is no, but I will fact check that and let you know.
Perfect. The next one from Pete Keller. How do we get the new version of Dashboard? Wayne, do you want to answer this or should I?
Well, okay, so this is it. So it's done, it's ready. We are releasing it to beta testers right after this webinar. We like to have our beta testers kind of really kick the tires before we make it available to the general public. So probably a week or two of beta testing, just to make sure that, you know, that we've dotted all of our I's, crossed our T's, and this is as stable as it's ever going to be. And then that will be released for general usage. As far as the install process, I believe it's going to be done one of two ways. Initially, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, where you'll call in and we'll set up our IT team to install it on your server, help you get it configured and set up. Eventually though, we do have a tool that's in development that's going to allow us to like mass deploy it for those that just want it and without having to have a custom appointment. But in the beginning, it will be by appointment.
Perfect. All right, from Sam Korf, one of many. Thanks for participating, Sam. All right, can you add numbers or dollars to the analytics? For example, add RMR to these clients who have alarms showing yes recurring.
Yes, I mean, so there's an infinite number of possibilities as far as like what kind of report you would want to build. But with when you're adding in, there really isn't a limit. I mean, and I really mean that, there really isn't a limit. So like if I went back to the data and I wanted to bridge in then the AR customer reoccurring, so let's see here. And if I can find it, I can bring in, and then there are things that you're gonna want to do. This one might be an overwhelming example for this webinar, but I'll discuss the concepts. Obviously, again, you're not gonna want all this information. You're probably just gonna want to be looking at the rate, but you're gonna want, whenever you're dealing with RMR, you have to do an extra couple of filters because Sedona likes to keep all the data. You never know when you're going to need the history of it. So by default, this is all RMR that's ever existed on those particular sites. So you might be getting some old stuff that was like before a rate increase or a canceled RMR. So you usually will want to go into you'll want to do some grouping on your RMRs. And you're all going to want to add some filters. And on the filter specifically, when you're bringing RMR values into any of these reports, you're going to want to make that the cycle start date is less than or equal to the current date, so it's active. But you also want to make sure, and this is kind of the trick one, you want to make sure the cancel date is either in the future or, and there's different people who do different ways. I like to say the cancel date is less than January 1st, 1910. And to explain that, and this is true not just with dashboards, but anytime you want to do reporting on RMR throughout any of the various SedonaOffice tools, whether it's the query builder, whether it's Excel reporting, Vivid reporting, dashboards, SQL databases don't like date fields to be empty. So they just don't like it. So what the SedonaOffice does is we put in, and depending on what field it is, it might be, you know, January 1st of, I think it's like 1988 or January 1st of 1900, and that means none. But when you're doing a filter on your databases, that is technically a date. So you can't say where the cancel date is none because you won't find any. They all have a date of some kind. So you kind of have to do an or statement there where you're doing it's either in the future, meaning it's active right now and it hasn't canceled yet, or it's way in the past. And like because the different, some of the dates are like 1889, some are 1900, or sorry, yeah, 1899 or 1900, I always go less than 1910. That way, no matter what field I'm working with, I'm going to catch those earlier dates. And if you've got a customer that you have history going back to 1910, I'm really impressed.
All right, next question from Steve Roy. Hey, Steve. Will you have a dozen or so predefined reports in Dashboard?
Yes, we have dozens. So let me close some of these windows I got going on for these reports so I can make this screen a little bit cleaner here. So we have pre-made reports and pre-made visualizations. So when you see when we say dashboards, what we kind of really mean is this tab. This tab is a dashboard. All these little items on it are referred to as visualizations. And if you go into the little gear here, and where I was showing you that you can change the layout, you can also add more. So anything that's in here, you've got SedonaOffice. These are the classic visualizations that have existed since Sedona 1. Nothing was lost in the upgrade process. So if you're not brand new and you're a seasoned customer, you still have access to all those ones that you've grown to use and love. Or if you're a brand new user, you didn't miss out on anything. Everything that was there before is still there now. So you can add as many of these in as you want. But then we have the Sedona new dashboards. And these are all the ones that didn't exist in Sedona 1. So all the ones we've added on. I will mention most of these are more, I mean, yes, there's RMR attritions and stuff like this, but this was really, a lot of these were designed to fill in some operational gaps with Sedona Office. So it's pretty heavy on like service reporting and job reporting and looking at things, not just profit loss, but like timing, overall customer experience. So there's a lot of new ones that have been added, a mix and match of various different accounting and operational questions. So these are all the ones you get out of the box with the tool. And if I thought I said at the beginning, but just to add again, this tool is free. This is just a Sedona Office way of saying thank you to, you know, being a Sedona Office customer. We're trying to make it the best it possibly can be. So here it is. Here's a tool. We've built some for you, and you can build your own. Obviously, the sky's the limit. The analytics, and then the report menu. Most of these that you see on this report list, so these are the ones that I've built myself as a user, so these would be the analytic reports. But most of these up here are those linked reports that you see within the visualization. It's just a way of quickly going straight to the one that you need without having to have the particular visualization up and moving. You can just go right to the data.
Perfect. Real quick one from Ben Bresek here. I may have missed this, but what browsers is Dashboard compatible with? Just hopefully more than Internet Explorer, question mark?
Fair question. So if you've gone through any of my FSU presentations, you've probably heard me say that the FSU uses a slightly dated, the web version of the FSU uses a slightly dated programming called Silverlight. All current development is going now app-based, iOS, and yes, if you've heard the rumors, it's true, Android eventually. But the web version, which was kind of Gen 3, if you've been with the Sedona Office a long time like I have, on the user side that is, Gen 3, which is that web version, it's tried, it's true, it works. There's no difference in functionality between the two apps, but it is restricted to Internet Explorer because right now, to the best of my knowledge, that's the last browser that actually supports Silverlight. This is different. Sedona Dashboards was designed to be a web application. I am showing it in Internet Explorer purely out of habit. Because I do a lot of FSU presentations, so I picked Internet Explorer, but this is all regular web browsing. So I could use Chrome, I can use Firefox, I can use, although I've personally never used it, I think there's Opera, I think is the Apple one. But yes, if it can read a website, you can use it. You're not stuck with Silverlight like you are with the FSUs.
Awesome. All right, next from Tamara Nielsen, does analytics allow for pulling prospect data? The query builder in Sedona Office only permits pulling data on prospects that have been turned into customers, but we miss out on digging into prospects that did not turn into customers.
That is a really good question. And I'm going to give you a baited answer. The reason why I'm hesitating is because the whole sales module of Sedona Office is in the process of being rebuilt and being far more robust. Not like, you know, QuoteWorks or any of the other partners level of robust, but a lot more than it currently is, with more tracking like you're looking for, like, you know, prospects that have tapered off. So because that's in development now, it does, but on a very limited scale, because we didn't want to spend a lot of time and effort into building the integrations for a feature that was only going to be around for a couple more months. And so it is a little bit limited on that side, but it will be. So as the new sales gets released to the general public and everyone's going, oh my God, this is awesome, we love Sedona Office, we will build that integration in so that you can use it here as well.
Perfect. Another one from Sam Korf here. Can these reports be generated and sent automatically on a schedule, weekly, for a certain updated report as of the current date?
I'm going to say yes. I did not demo the feature because, foolish me, I don't have email on this computer, but there is a feature where you can build in and email out the reports that you build in Sedona Dashboard. Now,
Okay.
Scheduling, I'm gonna just piggyback that one. The scheduling portion of it is not nearly as like, like with Sedona Sync. With Sedona Sync, you can build your reports, stick them into an HTML, and send them out on a schedule. This one's the interface is a little bit different. That might need a whole webinar just on itself.
Perfect. Okay, so we had another question about when they'll be able to get Dashboard 2.0, which you've already answered. Good work, Wayne. The next question is it printable?
Not only is it printable, it's exportable. So like if I'm going into the detailed reports for a particular field, at the bottom of all of these reports, you're going to have, or I guess I shouldn't say all these reports, but on most of the reports, you're going to have an export button. And that's going to give you the ability to export to PDF, export to, which is probably what you would print off of, export to Excel or CSV type files. And the reason why I would say you would do it to PDF first is because technically every web page is printable. You can just go into the options and hit print, and it's going to print the web page, but it's going to look ugly. It's going to have all the different, it's going to be a print screen basically, and you're going to have all this different sorting fields, and the header is going to be off a little bit. What I would do is if you wanted to print any of this information and you didn't want to use the email feature we just hinted to, I would go and just convert it to a PDF and print the PDF. And then that way it's going to be a lot cleaner, a lot nicer, and more easily read by the users.
Okay, and I'm just catching kind of a follow-up, and you may have answered this, but you know far more than I do, Wayne. We just had a follow-up question on that is it exportable, printable, or exportable? And I think you just explained that it is both.
It is.
Cool.
Most of the reports, I think I accidentally said all, but most reports do have an export button on them.
Perfecto. All right, next one from Dana Martha here. Hi, Wayne. How are access rights set for various employees and groups?
All right, so since she said hi, I'm going to say hi back. Hi, Dana. I used to work with Dana, by the way. It follows the Sedona Office group policies. So like if I'm going into, let's go back into analytics. And I made a dashboard that I am going to allow a user to see, and I'm setting up the sharing. It's going to go back to Sedona Office, and it's going to look at my user groups. So based on like security settings, so if you've got like a user group for technicians, I could just share it to everyone that's in that user group, or I can share it to individual users. So since this one hasn't been shared with anyone, I can just click on the users I want to share it to, or click on, like, say this is for just the executives. So I've made a dashboard that's got executive level stuff that they want to see and I want to provide to them. I can go in, I can pick the particular visualizations that fit, or I can make my own dashboard with my own reports because I know how my team wants to see that data. And then I can share it with the admin, and it wouldn't be available to anybody else because I only shared it to them. And then that way you can get specific key information to specific people.
All right, Brad Swindell would like to know if he can email a report. Hey, Brad.
Yes. That is a feature. I can't demo it in this one just because the computer I'm demoing on isn't hooked up to an email account. But it is a feature. When it's released, you will have it. This isn't a feature that's coming later. It is actually already in the system. So when it's released in a couple weeks, you will have that. We will probably do like a follow-up training or follow-up webinar just on the email feature, just to kind of get that set up.
All right, Jim would like to know what is required to activate Dashboard. Like, are there any special things that people need to do prior to us getting them up and running?
There isn't a lot. Now I'm going to say there isn't a lot because that's really kind of a better question for our IT department who can speak technical language. But the basics already have to have a web server. So if you've already are using like Sedona Web, you've got one. If you're doing any kind of internal like web sharing type stuff, you just basically need an IIS server. We'll install the code, we'll install the programming, we'll get the site installed on your web server, and then you just take it from there. So as long as you have a server running IIS, you're pretty much good to go.
Fantastic. All right. Trina Page wants to know, would we like to be added to the list of Dashboard 2.0? We never had Dashboard. Okay, we never had Dashboard 1.0. Does the fact that a customer has never worked with Dashboard before affect their ability to go live with Dashboard 2.0?
Not at all. The only thing that affects is who was available for beta testing. I believe all the beta testers are current Dashboard 1 people, just so that they kind of get the concepts and need minimal training to really beat the heck out of Dashboard 2.0. But as far as if you're a brand new user, actually, you probably are better off because to brand new people who are seeing this interface and seeing all the buttons kind of line up and the nice GUI and the graphics, it is a lot more user-friendly, Dashboard 2.0. Dashboard 1.1 was great, it was wonderful, but it was based more on functionality. We want to get you the data, we don't really care about it being pretty. Dashboard 2.0 was not necessarily focused on being pretty, but being more comfortable. So if anything, you've got no pre-existing conditions to kind of unlearn. You get to come in with all the benefits of all the existing reports, see the nice new, much easier to use interface. So I think you're going to be better off, in all honesty.
Perfect. All right. Karen says, can you program a particular report to be sent to an email on a daily, month, or monthly basis?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that one because the scheduling system of the email is something that is a little foreign to me, and that's under Matt's development. So that's why we're going to probably do a separate webinar just purely on the dashboard emailing features to kind of answer those questions more accurately. I know the answer is yes. I know it works. I know it's in place, but I personally have not used it enough because my machine doesn't have Outlook on it from when I test to be able to play with it myself. So to be continued on Dashboard 2 webinar part 2.
Perfect. All right, next question from Mark. Can this be added to one person in the company versus Big Bang?
Yes. You can just, because in the security settings, so let me get back to my Sedona office down here. So, and you know what? This might actually better answer some of the other questions. This one's a little bit more clean cut because you have some people that want dashboard and some people that don't. In your user group settings, let's see, let's just sort here real quick to make it easier to find. Dashboard's going to be an option. So you just click it and they'll have access to dashboard. They'll see this little integration here so they can just click on dashboard within SedonaOffice. Their user credentials will pass forward. They don't have to separately log in like if you're doing on internet. It'll pass through whatever security groups they're a part of that have been enabled for dashboard. They'll be able to access those. But if you've got just Joe regular employees that don't need it, you just don't give them that access and they'll never even know it exists.
Sorry, I muted myself there. All right, next one from Samcorp. Is Dashboard a web page only portal or a pop-up portal for those who have Sedona on a server?
It is. Oh, so So I was about to say it's a web page. So just how I just kind of showed you how to click the link from within the system. But what I think he's asking is like for cloud customers. If you're using Sedona Office via the cloud app, so it's kind of an interface that's more web-based because you're using it through Internet Explorer, you're logging in, you're getting those credentials and you're going through. If you've added on any other Sedona Office app, it'll kind of act, well, I guess it kind of does act like a pop-up, as in the sense where you click it and it's going to open up another web page. I wouldn't call it a pop-up though, because for me, pop-ups are kind of like the critical messages within Sedona Office. It's designed to be a small, quick thing that pops up, or like the spam of old, where things would pop up all over your screen when you clicked on a website. I don't want to call it a pop-up, but I guess, yeah, if I'm clicking it and it's opening up a separate web page, I guess that is technically a pop-up.
Okay, next one from Dana here. If we have Dashboard installed, is it activated for all companies on our Sedona Office? you need clarification there, Wayne?
Yeah, I need clarification on this one. I think I know what she's saying, just because I used to work there and I kind of understand their setup. So if you have different companies not set up as branches, but actually as physical different databases within Sedona Office, so they are truly run and managed as separate entities, maybe different terms and conditions, different billing addresses, or whatever the case may be. When you're setting that up, you're also setting up your Sedona Office credentials to log into one company or both. So if I wanted to open up another company, whatever the case may be, oh, of course I picked the sandbox, I'm going to have different credentials within those two companies. These are, what you're looking at right now on my screen is kind of a simulation of truly two different companies, and nothing in between is shared in any way, other than the Sedona Office master table, and that's kind of techie for the SQL people out there. But as far as all their data, they are separate as separate can be. And they'll have their own dashboard credentials as well. So if I'm clicking the Sedona, it's like, so in this particular user, I don't have Sedona Dashboard access, or in this company, sorry, but in this company I do. So if I've given myself access to Sedona Dashboards for here, I can build reports that are relevant to that company. If I go into Sedona Dashboard here, I can build reports relevant to that company. But because the whole point of having different databases is to keep them completely separate, I won't be able to have one dashboard that links both companies, because they are truly separate databases. And if what you might have noticed when I was going into analytics and pulling the drop downs to link the different tables together, company data was not one of them, because it's to keep it from being overwhelming, it is assuming that you are linking data tables within the company that you are logged into to use. I think that answers her question.
Perfect. All right, next one from Steve Roy here. Could you do a company summary total net job cost graph at a glance of how the company is looking over a period of months, not drilled down to individual jobs, but all jobs all jobs company-wide aggregated?
That's kind of actually this one that's right here on my screen. If I'm understanding him correctly, that's kind of close. Like, pretend there wasn't the detailed report that links down and goes into the chart. This particular one that happens to be up on my screen is all jobs going back a year or so, so you can see the net result of the jobs on the black line. So that's a bad month there, but we killed it in July. But down here below here, which is kind of hard to see on this report because I've got a lot of information on the screen, but I have also a lot of different job types. I can see the profitability for individual job types, and I can hover over them and get the particular informations. What's kind of cool in a lot of the new dashboards is, like, if I only cared about maybe my access system jobs, I can unclick some of these and turn them off on the visualization, and it'll update, which obviously makes that a heck of a lot easier to read. Let's just see how many I can turn off here. And so now I can actually focus on maybe the job types that apply to me. By default, obviously, since it's looking at everything, it's trying to give you the net result of all jobs, it does show all of them. But this kind of, like, by taking those off and looking at the information this way, I can kind of get a little bit more specific information on a particular job type. If that's what you're asking, it's coming to you in the package. It's already there. If I misunderstood, I can't stress enough how much you could almost build anything you want. I mean, this is a pretty robust tool. It is really impressive. I mean, and I like reporting through Sedona Office. I'm a geek that way. I find it fun. And there's a lot you can do in here with the analytics. I've only really kind of showing you the icing on the cake on a topical level. I could sit here for 3 hours and go into the details of the different things you can do. So I'm going to say either A, yep, you've already got it, or B, yes, you can build it.
Perfect. Okay, so Brad, let me just make sure I'm on here. Yep, perfect. Brad Swindell says, can I build my own drill down analytics visualizations like the predefined visuals?
build my own drill down?
You need me to read that back more articulately?
Yeah, can you read the question again? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding the question right.
Yes, that was not my best reading. All right, one more time. Can I build my own drill down analytics visualizations like the predefined visuals?
I'm going to apologize in advance if I misunderstood the question, but I'm going to take a stab at it. Where's my best report ever made? Here we go. Oh, look, I made another dashboard. This one. There is a lot more functionality built into the tools here that maybe I didn't demo, as far as like types of different maps, whether you want a curved line plot based on how you're separating it. But I think what he's and some of that functionality that I talked about, like with clicking these on and off to turn these features back on, does pass down to analytics as well. What I think he might be asking is like when I showed the reports, and the reports had all those filter tabs at the top. Because I'm predefining this, I am pre-putting the filters in. You might be able to use cross tabs to kind of filter it down a little bit more. That's more of a complex. If you're familiar with cross tabs, you know what I'm talking about, but that's a far more complex way of sorting and filtering data, where you can turn different things on and off to build it. But I think what he's asking is more along the lines of the filters that were at the top of the actual reports. And these I do not believe are in the analytics side, because the analytics side is saying, here's the report I want, here's the report I want to display. That would be kind of building a tool within a tool, if that makes sense.
Perfect. All right, next one from Michelle Hansen. Just the question is, how do we get this add-on? And just to clarify one more time, Wayne, after it's out in beta and we've gotten everything kind of taken care of, how are we getting people, how are we kind of polling people who want to get going with Dashboard and Analytics 2.0?
Initially, it's going to be by appointment. So you would just send a request in, get a ticket, just like you were doing just like if you were submitting a ticket for FSU training or Sedona Sync training or anything else, you would just submit a ticket, a support ticket saying, yep, please install Sedona Dashboard 2.0. Our IT department will then reach out to you. They'll talk about that IIS server that I talked about previously. Make sure that you've got that set up. They'll set up a live assist schedule with you, download all the files, get you configured, get you up and running, test to make sure the web server runs, and that should be, knock on wood, all there is to it. We've really beaten the heck out of this. I mean, for those who aren't new to Dashboard and have heard us at conferences and our sessions saying, yes, it's coming, yes, it's company. And the reason why it really was a delay is because we really beat this up. We tried to break it every which way since Sunday. Try to see if there was a way that like if someone could intercept with the security cookies, or the token, sorry, for the login credentials. A lot of effort really went into place of making this as stable as possible before it gets into customers' hands. And we're in the last step. It's just the beta testers now, because the golden rule to testing is don't test your own work, because you know what you anticipated for. So have someone that hasn't played with it try to break it, and they'll find the things that you didn't think of. So that is going into a beta test immediately. And knock on wood, assuming we didn't miss anything and they go, wow, this is awesome, it'll be out in everyone's hands. So I believe the last I heard is out in June, so next month.
Perfect. And just for everyone, I will just include those kind of action steps in the follow-up email that I shoot out to everyone after this webinar. So I will kind of just reiterate, sending in a support ticket is the way to get going with this once it is out in full in June. All right, next question, Wayne, from Rebecca Talbot. Can you start with a canned report, edit, and resave?
A canned report that you've designed, yes. A canned report that we've designed, no. So like our reports, no, those are pretty static. They are what they are. But if you build a report in analytics, oh, sorry, put that menu down. Let's see, let's pick the best report ever made. I heard that one's really good. So if you build a report, there is, yes, there's always tons of Easter eggs in all of my presentations, if you ever actually read the details in the back. But if you're building a report, there's a duplicate feature. So when I'm going into my data and I'm saving it and I rename it, I can also duplicate the information, and then I can take that one and add more to it. So I can like say like I have, here's one's the base customers, and then I'm going to duplicate that report, and I'm going to create a new one where I go down to site level, and then I'm going to duplicate that one and then go down to system level, so that I don't have to do everything over and over again. I can copy a report that I made and make changes to it. You just won't be able to copy the official Sedona Office reports.
Perfect. All right. Next, we have from Ben Bretzik. What server connectors and licenses are required for local installations?
I'll be completely honest, I do not know the answer to that question. That I defer to IT. Once you get to the actual server itself and the IIS server and the setups and the web page configurations, that part's a little bit over my head. I'm a data junkie, but I'm not an IT guy. So that is something that our IT department would have to answer for you. I'm going to assume there's some sort of license for IIS server from Microsoft, but for all I know, it's actually included with Windows Server licensing, and you don't need anything. Everything from us, though, free, and we provide. There's nothing you need from us that we won't give you. The whole module is free. There's no support for it. There's no RMR you have to head up for it. It's just a matter of getting in the queue and getting it installed. As for Microsoft, though, that's just a question I can't answer because I don't honestly know.
Perfect. And Ben, if you're still on this call and want to shoot me that question in a separate email, I am happy to pass it along to the powers that be and see if we can get you a response from our IT department. Okay, we're going to move on down the line here. We have several questions from Brad from OPT. We'll start with, is the new sales module data stored in the Sedona Office database, or is it part of the Sedona One platform?
Great question that I do not have the answer to, only because I'm not a part of that project. I know of it. I know the details that are shared with the general team, but not being part of that team, I can't answer specific. From my understanding, it'll be in the major, just the regular Sedona database like everything else. But I hate to say it, but the truth is, don't quote me on that because I'm not privy to that information.
Yes, and Brad, I'm going to back that up. I believe I know the answer, but I don't want to speak out of turn or perjure myself. So I am going to just run that one by Travis as well and get you an answer there. And I'm happy to include that in the follow-up email for the webinar as well. Okay, perfect. Next one, same from Brad. Can a user just see stuff I make in Sedona Analytics and not be able to create their own?
Oh, what the feature, you can set the security for the actual dashboards that you share. You can set to see whether they have access to dashboards in general or not, but no, you cannot separate individual sections. So like if you've got dashboard access, you're going to get all these tabs. I can't just give you dashboards but without analytics. It is an all-in-one product in that respect. I believe that's what he was asking.
Perfect. Okay, next we have, is the data shown in current real time or does it need to be manually refreshed?
Kind of two answers to that. So it depends on the visualization. So the ones that I'm showing you right now don't have an auto refresh feature built into them. So they will refresh every time you open the page, or if I like close down the website and open it back up, it's going to refresh every time I open it. But if you're going to set up one for like, let's say you want to have a dashboard set up that shows where all your technicians are checked in, so because they've got FSUs, and FSUs are awesome, gratuitous plug. And you want to see where they're all at a particular moment. So you want that kind of panel to be auto refreshing, so it's looking for the newest information on the check-in. That is a setting that you can set up in the visualizations that we define. So some of them could have that setting and some of them don't. For the majority of them, though, they refresh on open, not auto refresh in the background. And I'm going to kind of clarify that answer partially because of some security that's been built into the website. Just like with the FSUs and or just a bank website, if you leave it open for too long, it's going to auto log you out. So if I were just to sit here for like 45 minutes and not touch anything, and then I were to click on like the customer display, I'm going to get a message that pops up that says you're not authorized to see this feature, because it timed me out. That's part of that security that we built into it, so that someone can't hijack a connection that's just been sitting there dormant. It'll say no authorization. Now that's honestly just because you got timed out, not because you're not really necessarily authorized. You would just log out and go back in. But yeah, so those types of reports that are auto refreshing can be a little bit difficult to write because they conflict with the security we've built into it.
Okay, perfect. Next one we have from Brenda Gill. Hey, Brenda. If a user has access to Dashboard, can they access all files, or is it limited to the files they have access to through SedonaOffice security settings?
If you have access, you have access. One of the security features that does pass down is user group policies, or customer group policies. I keep saying user groups. So like if you have only access to like 10 accounts and you are doing a service report, it's going to be the service report of those 10 accounts. Obviously, you would probably have a lot more than 10, but you kind of get the idea. So customer group security does pass down. So if I'm only privy to a particular branch and I do a P&L, I'm not going to see the P&L of the entire company. I'll only see the P&L for the branch that I'm specifically tied to. The security kind of follows the same logic within SedonaOffice. A lot of SedonaOffice security is you either have access or you don't. It's hard to break out the individual items here within dashboards because it is meant to be a robust reporting tool, not a replacement necessarily for SedonaOffice, if that makes sense.
Perfect. All right. Another one from Danielle. Thank you so much for participating so actively here. Can I put a ticket in now for when it is released? Wayne, is that something that you think
Sure.
is acceptable, or you want people to wait? Okay, perfect.
I mean, I can't see any reason not to. Our IT department may hate me for saying so, but they like to keep their queue nice and tight and on top of things. And we're really anticipating this being a really kind of successful product and a launch. A lot of time and effort went into it. But I mean, whether you submit it now or submit it in 2 weeks, you're still going to submit it. So it's not technically creating any work. If anything, if you put it in now, we'll have a nicer feel for how to organize our appointments and how to get the things in line and anticipate the demand. So I don't personally see any reason why you wouldn't. That's just me.
Perfect. All right. Next one here from Tamara Nielsen. Is access to the dashboard only available by logging into SedonaOffice and clicking the dashboard module on the company tree, or can users access their dashboard from any web browser? Example, installers can access a link to their dashboard from home to see their schedule, or executive directors can access the link to her dashboard to show the live reports during board meetings.
Yes, that's one of the, because we wanted this to be both intranet, which means internally in your own network, and internet, which is open to the public, because we wanted to, I mean, that's the whole point for this customer display module. I mean, honestly, if you're in the office and you've got SedonaOffice, you don't need this. SedonaOffice already does it. This was specifically designed for remote access for internet browsing, where you don't have like maybe a cloud server set up to run your SedonaOffice. When you're logging in from a web browser, though, you're going to get a login page. It's going to ask you like your username, your password, and if you have access to multiple companies with that username and password, which company you want to log into. So it is viewable independent of SedonaOffice. Those login features are available there. They're still going to use your SedonaOffice credentials, so you have to set up the users obviously in SedonaOffice, but you don't have to be in SedonaOffice to launch it. If you've actually seen any of the previous webinars, I think Matt did one near the end of last year, you actually saw that methodology because he was actually showing it through the web interface and not through SedonaOffice.
Okay, next we have is the, sorry about that. No, not Cloud App. Who am I looking at? Oh, hey, Sam. Sam Korf was following up on his initial question. Just to clarify about one of the answers delivered earlier, no, not the Cloud App if you don't have the Cloud App. So I'm going to have to dig back into the archives, Sam, and kind of get you individually here, and we can answer that question. Okay, here, one more thing. Does it have to be a web portal is what he's asking.
I'm going to say yes because I'm not understanding the alternatives, and that just might be me not, truly understanding the question. But Sedona Dashboard is a website. It is designed to be an interactive website for reporting tools, and it all is designed via web. If you're asking like, can you build and use like an API type of a system to import the data into another system through another portal, it really wasn't designed that way. It's a reporting tool. It's not housing the data itself. It's still going back to SedonaOffice and your SedonaOffice database and compiling the information. So any kind of portal that you'd want to use like that to spit the information in another format other than the web, you'd want to use a different tool. You'd want to use Sedona Sync, or Sedona, some of the cool stuff that OPT has built, or the API systems for those types of things. This really is kind of designed to be a web interface.
Okay, perfect. From Brad again, can you click on a customer or ticket in the dashboard and have it open in SedonaOffice?
There is not two-way interactions at this time. It is a reporting tool, so it is designed to be independent. I think he's probably comparing it to some of the OPT dashboards. I know they've built some really cool links within their system where you can go back and forth between the two. This is more of a general tool, not nearly as specialized and robust as the OPT stuff. So no, it is kind of a one-way look.
Perfect. Dana would like to tell you that you did answer her question, so congratulations, Wayne. You're a genius.
Oh, thank you.
Moving down the line to more Danielle here. Can Vivid reports be imported or duplicated into Sedona Dashboard? Can any query or Excel reports be imported or copied to avoid having to rebuild?
I'm going to say no. So like if you're I'll use an analogy. If you build a query in the query builder within SedonaOffice, but you want to see it in an Excel report, there's a way that you could just copy and paste the SQL into Excel and it'll recreate the query, and that way you can just play with the data in Excel. It's a fun little tool. This isn't that type of reporting. It is really kind of designed to use its interface, because all of the integrity checks that we've built into it with all the linking and everything was designed to use our predefined linking, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot more than like the query builders. It'd be like taking all the query builders and putting them together. But it is still our linking. Once you start to write your own SQL or taking SQL from another reporting tool, Crystal Reports, Excel, Sync, whatever the case may be, now you're kind of going to some next level type of an item, and this tool wasn't designed for that.
Perfect. All right, next question is from Linda. When you send out that email, would you please summarize technical requirements in there too?
I think that was to you when you were saying the follow-up on how to get it. Like
hey, all right, perfect. Thank you for placing me here. All right, perfect. One more from Brad, it looks like. Does it honor customer user group security?
Yes. That question probably came in before I answered that question. It does. So just to recap though, in case I maybe was speaking too fast, if I am looking at this profit and loss chart that I just happen to have up in front of me. Now, right now I'm logged in as the admin, so I see everything. But if I was logged in as a particular user and my user group security customer group security only had access to like a group of accounts within a particular branch, like my accounts, I would see the sum profit loss for just my accounts. So I wouldn't see the overall company. I would see where I need to focus, and it's going to follow down. That was one of the most recent additions to the security that pushed it back a little bit, because we built that in there. So yes, that does exist.
Okay, perfect. Then from Karen Sperber, we have, are there any associated costs for this now or in the future? And I think the answer is no. This is a thank you for being our customer that we're offering to all of our current users.
Nothing from us. The only potential cost, like I said, and this is just me not knowing, is if you need a license for your IS server from Microsoft. But as far as we're concerned, nope. This is a completely free thank you for being a customer tool.
Awesome. Okay, next one from Ben Bresic again. Is there a known limit on data display modules per dashboard session?
I'm not going to say there's a known limit, but obviously you have to keep in mind what you're working with. If you're building like one of the visualizations is the like a service profitability loss, but it's not the report, which you saw already. It's a visualization, and it's calculating the profit of all service tickets going back this year and last year. That one was designed to be kind of comparative, so you can kind of see where you're on track with this month compared to this time last year. So you can see, okay, well, January is our slow months for us, and that's why our profits are low, or that's why our volumes are low. Or wow, we've really killed it this month, but that's not normal. We're normally not this busy. So did something happen? Was there, some sort of event that took place in our community that suddenly made security really important? So this is an anomaly, not a norm. That type of data mining. So it's that particular visualization does take a while to compile. So if you're on a really slow machine or have a really slow SQL server, there's a potential it might time out because your system just can't compile all the information quick enough. So it's not necessarily a limit of dashboard as much as the tools you're using. And everyone's equipment's different. It's hard to say for sure. Like, I can't give you minimum specs if that's what you're asking for. I've had some dashboards that have 18 different panels on it. When we were doing our various different testings, I had one tab that I tried to have like all the visualizations on to see if it would run, and it did. But then again, I was testing on a really powerful machine with a really powerful server. You may not have the same results if your equipment is older or maybe dated.
Okay, perfect. Last two here, it looks like. Follow-up from Jim here. Do users logging into the website to look up customers count against SedonaOffice licensed users?
No. That's actually a pretty cool question. I'm glad you asked that. That's actually a really cool question. No, because it's not SedonaOffice. So it's not going to count as your SedonaOffice users. Now it is a database connection, so it will count towards your SQL cals. But as far as like where you've probably run into that situation where you tried to launch SedonaOffice and it said you've exceeded your number of licenses, kick somebody out so you can get in. No, that will not be the case here, because this is not SedonaOffice. This is just a reporting tool. So it's using a SQL connection, but not a SedonaOffice license. That's actually a really cool question.
Glad you like that one, Wayne.
Well, sometimes we try to think of all the different things that could possibly pop up. That was one I honestly had never thought of, and that was I like it when there's a new one that comes up, like, oh yeah, we didn't think about that. But luckily the answer was yes.
No, Jim, we're gonna have to send you some sort of prize there, and he has typed back, "Cool answer, Wayne." You're killing it, man. All right, Gloria Simone wants to know, can you view 2 to 3 months at a time to see the difference with each month?
Yeah. I mean, the answer is almost always going to be yes, no matter what. When you're asking, like, can I do this type things with my reports, I'm probably going to answer yes. Like, I'll just keep using this job one because it just happens to be up here. This is going all the way back. Several months, so I can see, like here's an example of what I meant by like a spike. Something, now this is high because we were testing a module and threw a bunch of jobs in there. But if you were looking at your real data and seeing this type of information, you might go, oh, what the heck happened in July? Why all of a sudden did we seem to kind of fluctuate around here, and then all of a sudden, holy cow, we killed it one month. Maybe was there an acquisition that month? And that's why your numbers are falsely inflated, that you want to take that into consideration. Maybe you have a job type called conversion, and you took over another company and all those jobs are thrown in here. So you kind of want to filter those out. So like, okay, all right, let's see what our normal numbers are. So yes, you could do month by month comparisons. I'm actually doing, sorry, I shouldn't say doing. I'm actually a huge fan of, I want to see the year to date for this year and the entire year before, because when back before when I was on the user side of SedonaOffice, I like to do month-by-month comparisons. So when I was looking at my numbers for February, and if I compared them to last month, that may not be a fair evaluation. Sometimes some months are pretty slow. It's a winter month. There's not a lot of jobs going in a winter month because it's snowing and it's hard to build a house in the snow. So I can't really compare it to last month. But if it's January and I'm comparing it to last year's January, now I'm looking at more of an apples to apples comparison. This is our average for January, not necessarily as a whole. Kind of another example of that is this KPI chart that I have up here in the corner. You'll see current period and previous period. So that's an example of that apples to apples. So if I'm doing a monthly view, I'm looking at the current month and last month. But if I'm doing a year view, I'm looking at the current year to last year. So I can see that we've made some massive improvements in closing our tickets. Obviously, this is all fake data, but so last month, we were overwhelmed. We were swamped. We were probably closing tickets within 3 months if we were lucky. But this year, we're closing our tickets within 3 days. So we've either hired someone to get us caught up on our tickets, or we've changed our processes, or got FSUs, making closing tickets a lot easier. No, I'm not a fan of FSUs. No, not at all. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And yes, I'm actually quite the fan of doing month-to-month comparisons, year-to-year comparisons, and also not just January to February, but January to January.
Okay, perfect. We had one last one come in late. Does this integrate with OPT's dashboard?
Separate products. OPT's dashboards and our dashboards, although they have the same name, are a lot different. OPT stuff is really customizable, and they've got their two-way interface, linking with Sync, and bridging in their own sub database that makes a lot of connections for you, a lot of two-way connections. I would not compare the two products. The Dashboards is a really nice, really robust reporting tool, but it is not an OPT level product. This is as much as we could possibly give you without saying, now you got to go OPT.
Okay, perfect. And so, but is there integration there? Just a follow-up question, or just to be clear, so totally no integration, no crossover, just OPTs is just really robust. And yes, it's
not. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's not.
Oh,
it's not. They're not the same product. They're not. OPT dashboards are a different type of dashboard. Now, not to say that if you build something in our dashboards and really like it and would like to see it, you couldn't contact OPT about having them integrate it, but they are not designed to talk to each other.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I think that concludes our webinar, folks. Thank you so much to those of you who hung around. Wayne, you did a great job, and if there are any additional questions, please feel free to shoot them over to me. I will direct them to the powers that can help you out with each individual question, and we are looking forward to seeing you at our next Sedona seminar. Wayne, would you like to sign off?
All right, talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.